What's up, traders? John Hal here. Hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about, I'm going to share with you what are my steps that I take when I'm looking to identify a trading setup. All right, so before I get in this video, guys, do not play straight based on this video. I'm going to be teaching you and helping you and identify what's really going on, how to really read the charts, how to really read the market, and really help you move forward in a big way in the markets. If you'd like to get a very first thing in the description, I want you to click on that right now. That's going to take you over to a free training I'm running where you're going to learn the 7 secrets to achieving a 90% win-loss ratio in your own trading. So click on that very first link in the description. Go over and register for that right now, guys, because you're going to learn the 7 secrets to helping you achieve a really good win-loss ratio. With that being said, what I want to teach you guys right now is the correct steps, or the steps that I take to identifying a really, really good trading setup. Now, before I start this, bing, bing, bong, bong. Before I start this, I'm not going to talk about what is the entry day, all right? So it's important when you're trading the market that you know what type of setup. There's a few things that you need to know every time you're trading, right? And this is here's a few things that you need to know. So let me see if I can go with, say, a blue here. So the first thing you need to know is what type of setup, right? There's a setup that you need, right? Maybe basically like a pattern on the chart. What type of pattern are you looking for on the chart? Number two, what type of day or what type of bar are you looking to get in on? Because it couldn't be a day. It might be like a 1 minute Forex chart. You know what I mean? It could be a 1 minute. It doesn't matter. Now, my trading system that I trade, really high win-loss ratio, and also trades on every market, every time frame. I was trading the daily stock market charts this morning here, Aussie time, US market close. And during the day, I trade the Forex market, like, you know, so 1 minute charts, 5 minute charts, so on and so forth, exact same thing. So they're the two things you need to know. What type of setup and what type of day, what type of bar are you looking for to get in on? What is your entry setup and bar? So that's the very first thing that you need to know. Now, I'm not going to get into all my details and stuff like that, because I'm not going to get into that here, because I have people pay a lot of money, you know, to actually get access to my coaching program and stuff like that. So I'm not going to give you all the details because I'm not going to insult them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through what are the steps, what are the steps, what are the setups to actually, the steps and the setup to actually identifying what's really going on in the markets. Now, here are the steps you need to take. Here's the steps that I take if I've identified a setup and an entry bar that I like to take to see what's really going on with this particular stock. If you're trying to read a stock or read a market or whatever, this is what I do. Now, the very first thing I must say, guys, is here's the first thing I do. I like to start from a small time frame and then scale out to a bigger time frame. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. Now, right now, what we're looking at right now, we're looking at, say, a 3 month. We're just seeing 3 months worth of time on this 3 months worth of time on this chart here. Now, I just picked this. This is just a random chart that I just picked out. The reason why I did that is because it was just a random chart. All right, just a random chart. There's no entry signal on this chart for me to get in or get out. This market's very sideways, so there's nothing really going on here, okay? So the first thing I must say, guys, is the best thing you can do is come back to a blank chart. So even without the 52 on here, when you're trying to read the market, you're trying to identify what's really going on with the market, what you want to do is you want to start reading, because remember, every single bar that forms on the chart, it's telling you a story, right? It's giving you a story of what's really going on in that market. So you want to continue to flow with the market, right? Flow with the market and continue to read that story, what's happening. So let's actually go back here for a minute, all right? Let's just scroll back here. Actually, no, I'll just go from the current market right now. So right now, currently, what do we see? Right. So what do we have on the chart? We have just black bars and a white background and just volume down here. Now, we don't really need volume at this time because we're just focusing on the charts. Now, why do I just have a white background with black bars? Because remember, the most important thing you can do when you're trading is to read the market itself, the chart itself, not moving averages. Now, yes, moving averages, entry days, and so on and so forth, volume, that's going to help you get into the market. But if you're trying to get a good gauge of what a particular stock is doing at that particular time, now remember, just what it's doing right now today, a week later could be doing something different, especially when you're looking at a daily chart. Make sense? So what you want to do is you want to start identifying the highs, the lows, and also some trend lines as well too. So the very first thing you want to do is, if you look at this chart here, right? And if you look at this chart here, let's just start down the bottom here. What did we have through here? We had what? We had a downtrend. As you can see, right, we just had this nice downtrend through here. Now I'm just going to delete all this off here. I'm going to start from the bottom here, right? So we had this downtrend through here, right? So the sellers are in control, sellers in control, sellers in control. Market came down through here, and then we popped up through here. All right. So what do we have now? We have what? We have this sort of high up here. High, no real sort of. There's no real high, lower, and then it made this lower high, right? So it made this lower high, but what did it make through here? It made a what? It made a higher low compared to this one here. So the sellers are in control through here, coming down, and they ran up, made this lower high. Sellers in control. So remember, sellers in control, but now it made a higher low. So who's in control? No one at this moment, right? But remember, we're still making what? We're still making lower highs at this time. So therefore, sellers are more in control. Because sometimes what can happen is if I just delete this off, what can happen sometimes is that'll happen. It'll rally up a little bit, and then it'll just head back down again, right? Continuing this downward trend. So let's actually continue through here. So what ended up happening? It ran up and made this high, this sort of double top formation. Then it came down and it made this what? It made a slight higher high. So who's in control through here? No one really, right? No one really in control. But look what happened here. Notice this here was the last. This here was the very last high. So then when we had this very last high point, see how this market broke up through there. Now we're changing trend because right now, as of this bar through here, this bar what? This is now closing higher. So it's giving us a higher. So now we're getting what? We're getting higher lows, higher low, higher low. And now this is the very first higher high that it's going to confirm. This is where the buyers start to show a lot more strength and the sellers are losing strength. Again, at least for the short term, okay? At least for the short term. Because remember, every day the bar's forming, you're reading the story. So what ended up happening through here? Went sideways, boom, continued up, and then created this what? Created this high. Then came down, created this what? Created this low. So who's in control right now? Buyers, right? Higher low, and then created this what? This was now another higher low. Breaking of the resistance and running up. Makes sense? Breaking of the resistance and now running up. Now it ran up and it broke the resistance, and now it came down and created what here? It created another higher low. Break again of this support and resistance line through here. So you can see this whole level through here was indeed the resistance and support. Higher low. But what did it create right here? It created a lower high, now breaking this low through here. So right now, as you can see, right, it created this lower high, now breaking down, 1 bar down, 2 bar down, breaking down. Now this is the very first, as you can see, right, this here was the very first break of the low. So this is the very first breaking of the low for basically almost 2 months. Does that make sense? Almost 2 months. Not only that, but when you actually start to look at the actual market itself, when you start to identify, again, key areas of support and resistance, what you want to do is you want to delete everything off the screen. And what you want to do is when you're trying to draw trend lines on the charts to identify channels and so on and so forth, you only want to have a few major trend lines to see what's really going on. And now remember, trend lines are there for support and resistance and to gauging momentum, whether momentum is breaking or not. So therefore, what I mean by that is this. Now, guys, I've had a lot of years of experience of doing this sort of stuff, over 10 years, so I can sort of spot things in my eye straight away. But just, keep going, keep practicing. What I can see here right now is that the market went sideways, and this was sort of the low point through here. See how that was the low point before the market continued up? That's where I'm going to start my trend line. So I'm going to start my trend line, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to start from the low point down here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the lows. And what I'm doing now is I'm trying to connect as many lows as possible. Okay, as many lows as possible to try and get the trend line that's relevant and valid. Relevant and valid simply means that it's had a lot of touches. So I would have to say that by looking at this bar and looking at this section through here, I would have to say that somewhere around about there. All right, so it's somewhere around about there. I'd have to say somewhere. So let's just put it through there. All right. So again, remember, it's not an exact science, but it's an art form. So you have this low, you have a high low here, you have a high low here, market ran up, came back down. And now notice if you were long this stock, notice how this was the very first breakdown past this momentum, right? If this momentum was strong, see if you got in, say, if you saw this support and resistance level through here, and you got in this day right here, as in the market's bouncing off, which you wouldn't have because there was no volume that day, but you can see what, if that happened and then the market started to turn around and you saw this happening right now, what would you do? You'd get out, right? Because now things are turning around. So now we went from an upward momentum and now momentum is breaking and shifting down back below these support levels, back below the trend line. And so now it's shifting down. So what's really going on here right now? Really, no one really in control, right? We're getting these lower highs, higher lows. No one really in control of this stock here right now. So that's what I like to do initially of that. And then I like to start to go out to a longer term time frame just to gauge it. So now I'm going to go to a 6-month time frame. And if I go to a 6-month time frame, now I can identify even more levels that are relevant to me. So what I mean by that is this: if I just let everything go on the screen, and now if I'm looking at some major high points and major high points, you can see this here was a major high point, which that's obviously where it rejected. Now, the reason why this is important to know is if you're looking at an entry signal, say this bar here, if you saw this bar right here as an entry signal, and you saw, and you did get into this, by the way, if you say you did get into this, but then you saw the market rallied up and it came down and closed here, and you saw it was rejecting at these levels through here, you'd simply want to get out, right? Because it rejected these levels, which was once, twice, 3 times it rejected it before it started to come back down. Make sense, guys? Now, again, there's no exact science to this, but that's what you want to do there. And then again, what you want to do is you want to go out to a longer term time frame to identify, you want to go out there and to identify even more levels on the yearly chart. And then what I like to do is I like to go to the weekly chart, because the weekly chart really gives me the gauge and the strength. And the weekly chart really tells me what's really going on. Now, through everything that I've just said right there and then, as you can see, right, and if I go through this, if I go back to this 3-month chart, who was in control basically for the last, say 3 months of this market through here? Who's been really in control? Sellers, right? Really, sellers in control. Oh, sorry, buyers, right? Buyers in control. So as these buyers are in control, stair-stepping higher, what you want to do is, as you're identifying, just say you identified a couple of bullish signals. Maybe you identified this one here as a bullish trade. Maybe you identified this one here as a bullish trade. And maybe you identified this one here as a bullish trade. One thing I have found, guys, is that as this upward move has been going up, notice how the moves haven't been that strong. They just haven't been that strong. Now, why is that? Well, remember, what you want to do is whenever you're trading, you want to trade with the underlying direction of the higher time frame trend. So if you're trading a daily chart, you want to go to the weekly chart to make sure that the overall trend is in your favor. I promise you guys, just this one technique will blow you away when it comes to success rate. Notice a lot of these didn't really move much, right? Now, why is that? If I go to my weekly chart, let me delete everything off the screen now. And I'm going to go back to my weekly chart. So now I'm going to go to my weekly chart. And what I'm going to do in my weekly chart is I'm just going to identify what? I'm going to identify highs and lows. I'm just going to identify the peaks and troughs. Now, what's that going to do for me? It's going to tell me who's in control. So I'm going to identify this high up here, high. This had this low, and then it break down, made a lower low. Then it came down, made a lower high, and now it made another lower low, and now it's making a what? Another lower high. So regardless of support or resistance or what we think, who is in control of this stock on the overall picture here? Sellers, right? So this is an example of where I personally wouldn't want to be going long. I personally would be looking to go short. Why? Because the overall trend is down. And as soon as the market started to do this here, as soon as the market started to create this this lower low, this lower high through here, and we started to get this sort of this sideways action through here, right? Sideways action through here, and then we started to break down. I'd be looking for short signals around about here somewhere to benefit from the downside. Make sense? So, and if I actually go, let me delete everything on the screen again. So I hope you guys are enjoying this out. I'm really walking you through something that's taken me a long time to figure out. Now, if I go back to my overall long-term time frame again, where was that? So if I go to my daily chart here for a minute, and I look at this daily chart, there's really nothing there that sort of stood out to me as an entry, so I wouldn't have just gone short there. I still need my setup, I still need my entry bar, and so on and so forth. Make sense, guys? So again, you're right, even if you squeeze your weekly chart up and you identify the major highs, major lows, right? Major high, major low, major high, major low, major high. Who's in control overall majorly? Sellers, right? So remember, that's the most important thing. So as you're trading your time frame, and this is what I do, guys. So when I'm trading the stock market, I'm trading the daily charts and I'm trading options over those markets there. And so and I'm trading options. The reason why I'm trading options, now again, I'm just buying options because it just gives me leverage. A 2-3% move on a stock, or even a 4% move, can give you 40, 50, 60% return on the option if you get the direction right, that is. Makes sense, guys? So this is actually, I didn't even realize this until I just saw this. I didn't realize this weekly trend was against this position here, but that's what I do, right? And so whenever I'm doing my trading every day, I initially start off with the small time frame like this, and then obviously I'm looking for my setup. And yes, I'll still go to charts like this. Why do I go to charts like this? Because the chart overall, right? The chart, these moving averages, it tells you about momentum. I'm not going to get into that now. I'm just talking about the basics here. But this is what you do, right? Go to the 3-month chart because you want to see the flow of the last 3 months. Then you want to go to the last, say, 6 months and again see the flow even more. And once you've identified what you think is a good setup, or what you know is a good setup, should I say, once you identify something that you know is a good setup, then it's important to go to the 6-month view to see what's really going on. And then go to that weekly chart to make sure you're trading with that weekly trend. So here's my last point here. If you're trading the daily chart, go to the weekly chart to make sure you're trading with that weekly trend. If not, don't take the trade. I promise you guys, a lot of your losing trades will be because, as you saw, right, you saw a lot of those potential long signals didn't really work out in this last sort of 3 to 4 months up to the upside, right? There wasn't really any strong buyers there. You want to go with the biggest trend, the strongest momentum. And if the strongest momentum right now is down, right, the strongest legs have been down, and the weaker legs have been what? The weaker legs have been up. So you want to be going with the stronger legs. So you want to make sure your entry signal is in line with those stronger legs, i.e. who's in control. So if you're trading like for me right now, guys, I trade a 1-minute chart on the Forex chart. So therefore, I'm looking for the 5-minute chart for the trend. If I'm trading a 5-minute chart, I'm looking for the 15-minute chart for the trend, or at least the slash 60-minute chart. Make sense? And that's what I do right now. And yeah, I very rarely do I take a trade on the 60-minute chart. But most of my trades on the Forex market and the futures market done on a 1-minute chart and a 5-minute chart. Now, guys, the ironic thing that a lot of people just don't understand about this is that my trading system that I trade on this daily, the actual stock market itself is the exact same system I trade on the Forex market. Because once you know how to trade one market, a chart is a chart is a chart. And as long as you can just have an exact plan of exactly what you're looking for, then you can apply it to a 1-minute chart, a 5-minute chart, a daily chart. The exact same rules apply to everything, right? And now you can trade every market and you're trading the exact same system. And my system absolutely rocks it. I'm just so grateful now over so many years now, over a decade of trading, that I'm now getting on the street where I'm getting right now. So there we go, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this chat. If you really enjoyed this video, guys, share it out, please. Put it on Facebook for me. Share this out because I know this is really going to help a lot of people who are trading the markets and are very confused. And once again, guys, if you'd like to get my help, I'm running a free training to teach you things like this, but the 7 secrets to achieving a 90% success rate. If you like this video, then click on that link in the description and go over there right now, and you'll be able to get more access to training like this, but in a lot more depth. Like we're talking like 90 minutes or something like that, 60 minutes or something like that. So anyway, guys, do that right now. Share this out, click the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.